Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Terrestrial Material, where we talk about the material us terrestrials are interested in. Happy Sunday, everybody. How's everybody doing? Huh? What a week. What a week. Okay, the music is done. We're done with the music. Alrighty, huh? Yeah, wild week, man. I guess the biggest thing from this week was the whistleblower, well, quote unquote whistleblower, that is, that came out, Jason Sands, in the Twitter space, which I think actually happened the weekend before. I think it was Sunday night, maybe, if I'm right. Maybe it was Saturday. Maybe one of you guys can remind me of that. Saturday or Sunday. Either way, and actually, it wasn't even the first time that he even came out, believe it or not. So, and believe it or not, yours truly was on the panel where he supposedly came out, and it was an open call, and we'll go into that in a second. But good to see everybody. Obviously, Gebs, good to see you. Cosmic Twilight. Obviously, John Stokes, Tim G. Star. The OGs are here without a doubt. Jeff Garvey, how you doing, ladies and gents? Obviously, like, share, subscribe. You know, all that YouTuber lingo. You know, once again, I'm not a YouTuber. I have a podcast that's on YouTube. I love that Tim Dillon line so much. But yeah, so good to see everybody. Intergalactic Angler. I should say it the way Rich does. Some of you guys that are in Goofon's chat. It's very funny. But no, good to see you guys. Introductions are maybe out of the way for now. So look, there's a lot of places that we could start with the Jason Sands thing. But just to give you guys kind of a rundown, there is going to be an episode of Alien Addict at 4 o'clock today, Eastern time for me. That's Eastern time. And that's, I think, 9 UK time. So today's show is going to go about an hour, if that. Like, I'm going to keep it really tight because it's going to be happening like right after this show. And I need like a few minutes to kind of get up and move around. You know, last weekend I did back-to-back shows. Like, it was like over 4 hours, man. It killed me. It killed me. So I need to keep this one kind of high and tight. Plus, I mean, the Jason Sands stuff that I do want to go over, a lot of this stuff has been covered. There's no way you guys haven't seen a lot of this. So I want to kind of just key in on a couple of interesting points about him, a couple of the pushbacks towards him that I think are important. And so we'll take a look at that stuff. And then, obviously, Congress wasn't in session this week, so, not a whole lot to say when it comes out of that. But, yeah, I'll just jump right over to it. Let me see. So where to start? Let's jump over to our Twitter or X situation here. Why don't we start from the beginning, right? That probably would help if we started there. Okay, so right here. Hey, there's me. There's me. This is actually prior to me even being, even having the channel. I think this was June. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit for you guys. I didn't like going full screen because I cut the top bar, and if I go full screen, you won't actually be able to we see like a lot of the heads and everything that are up here. But yeah, look at that. There's Amy. There's Alien Girl. I think this is, oh God, I can't remember her name, but if I'm right, it's this. We got the clip from this episode actually from her. I could be totally wrong, by the way. But yeah, because this space where he initially came on, down here in the bottom left, this is Jason Sands. Let me zoom in a little bit. Let's just get right in there, huh? Let's get in real tight. But yeah, here's Jason down at the bottom. And actually, I'll run this with no sound. Just let this play for a second so you guys get a little bit of motion and everything out of it. But yeah, he popped up on this panel, and I haven't seen the whole thing. I think it's back up on the Rebellious. Yeah, this is her. I think this is her. Rebellious Unknown. I think this is where they got the full episode of this taken down, because Rich originally played this. He played the whole Grush interview. This happened on the day that the Grush interview aired on News Nation. I think it was June 3rd, if I remember right. And Intergalactic says, that's Lynn. Okay, it's Lynn. Like, I think it is from her thing. But anyway, yeah, this is where this kind of came from. This is where all this started. But that clip, or this whole original stream from Rich, was taken down. Copyright, it was gone. So it never even, I don't know how people even remembered it. Here's the thing for me. I'm really good with faces. I'm not as good with names, but if I see your face, and I'll remember you. I 100% will remember you most of the time. I can't say 100% most of the time. That's stupid. But a lot of the time, I'm really, really much better with faces than I am names. So when the original photo of Jason Sands got released, dude, I thought about this. And I thought about this guy, and I was like, I know this face from somewhere, and it's this guy right here. And so I was kind of wondering what was going on. And another interesting thing about this too is I think Non-Credible, and I think he's the guy that actually spotted and remembered this as well. But I was in a Twitter space a few months ago, and I'm sure it was him, but someone, I think it was him. He asked me, hey, Ice Cream, were you on the panel with Rich when they had some whistleblower guy on there? And in my mind, I was kind of like, this is a really weird question. This is really out of nowhere. But I think I said, yeah, probably, And, but I remember that from that day, that guy asked me that question because it was so weird. It was so random. I mean, I just had started the channel probably around that time, and who the hell would know me or remember me? So it stuck out as very odd. And I think, quite frankly, if I wouldn't have thought back to that Twitter space moment when I seen Jason's picture and then linked back all the way to this panel, that I would even have remembered this. But weird how things pop up like that, right? You get that little reminder that something might be coming later or something, but it's very interesting. What I will do is I will play a little bit of this clip here. I don't ask anything. To be honest, if you see me up here, I'm pretty nervous on this panel. And a lot of that is because, well, I mean, I wasn't like on camera or on, doing this. I didn't have a channel at the time. So I wasn't the most comfortable because there was a lot of people, dude. There was a lot of people. But also while I was listening to this, I didn't really believe this guy to start with. My initial impression was, okay, here's this guy sitting in a recliner chair or on a couch at his house, and he's got a story about somebody, about, talking to Grush, and he said Grush, which I think you'll hear in this clip if I'm right, which was also kind of a common mistaking of Grush's name at the time, which was kind of a red flag, to me at least, especially nowadays, because I think I say Grush or something in this panel. We all kind of got that wrong. But I was kind of uncomfortable because I didn't really know what to ask. I was kind of just I was really just there to talk about Grush, right? I was really there to talk about that guy. And that was Grush came from the interview, and there was like just so much more intrigue and so many more things that made Grush at that moment sound just way more credible and seem way more credible than this guy. So I just kind of wrote him off as, hey, this is another, older guy that's coming around telling a UFO story. But that's the kind of context to this clip. Or to some with like this stream. So we're going, oh, look at Jeff Garvey. How is Greer going to top this tomorrow? Who knows? Let's play this thing. Huh? I've led into this enough. Jesus.
Would actually be released.
Yeah, I believe so. I know Grush, and I've been with him the whole way through, but yeah, he's really pushed for that. I know that that's one thing that I'd love to see his work.
Ted, you know Grush?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, I'm in the intel community too. I've worked with him during the UAP task force.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, we still talk to each other.
Or reading Rainbow. Hey.
That's why I tried to.
So this is the other kind of point of contention for a lot of people. God, when I pause it, you can't see it. Well, I'll just do that. But down here in the bottom, it says Ted Howells. So he didn't come out as Jason Sands. And if I'm correct, Ted is his middle name, he said. And so he wasn't just fully comfortable coming out with his whole full name and everything like that at this point. So let's go back to the 32, and then we'll continue on with the sound here for you guys.
Rainbow. Hey.
That's why I tried to get in so much.
My uncle worked at
the back room just to kind of see if anybody had any real questions
from him too.
This is amazing.
Did you guys catch the kid in the background? Okay, this was like, I don't remember this at the time, but this guy named Bill, I think it was Bill. I don't think it was Doc Skinner over here, because it wasn't said by someone who was actually on camera. But this guy says, hey, my uncle worked at Bungie. Bungie's the company that made Halo, and he's like making fun of Ted here a little bit. But making fun of him is not the point why it's funny. The funny thing is, like, you're sitting on a UFO panel and somebody makes a Halo recon armor reference from Bungie and Halo. That was what was really funny about it, is it was so random. But recon armor was like this outfit this gear that you could get for your character in PvP for Halo, and it was like rare to get. It was really hard, and so like everybody wanted it. So it was just really funny. You could tell the guy's a younger guy for making that joke. But yeah, dude, I'll go ahead and go back for you guys. I laugh every time I hear the Bungie joke.
Worked at
Into the
Bungie.
back room just to
Actually,
kind of see if anybody
I
had any
got
real
recon
questions.
from him too.
This is
But,
amazing that you actually know the guy and you're here for a minute.
Would actually be released.
Okay, so there you go. That's the little clip. There is a full episode that you can watch, and they kind of go over that. All right, I'll be honest with you guys. There isn't like a rhyme or reason to my bookmarks today. I don't really have any notes. We're kind of just gonna roll through this thing here, and we'll take our way through it. Now, I think the next thing that we'll go to is I'll play a description. This is a video. This is from, and the link is in the description, Logan Black. I got the YouTube link. He like put together the recording and like upped the audio quality too. The initial recording that he released of this entire Twitter space that Jason Sands went into last week, that's on Logan Black's website, but there's a rough audio cut version of it that's missing like 2 hours, and then there's a full audio version that are a better like enhanced audio, really cleaned up extraordinarily well. I mean, if he's an audio guy, he did an incredible job. Maybe he just used AI to do it. I don't know. But I mean, if AI can clean up audio that well, jeez, Pete. But it's really good. And so a couple of the clips that I have are from the scratch track. I'm going to call it the not so great audio version, because I didn't even know this one existed until today. And so I grabbed this clip from this, but this kind of, if I remember right, goes over a little bit more of description of kind of how he looks at the beings themselves, the names. It's a little bit longer of a clip. It's like 4 minutes and 30 seconds, but it's interesting nevertheless. And we'll go ahead and play some of this, guys, for you. But the link to the entire 6-hour good audio down in the description. I got your guys' back if you haven't went through it.
But yeah.
Okay. Anyways, the other question I had for you, you said you stood within feet of a non-human intelligence. Was this like your typical gray? And
No, it was.
my second question is,
we didn't get subtitles on that answer, but Jason actually steps in here. I think this is Darcy Weir talking. I'm not sure. I think it is him. But he jumps in the middle of that question and says, no, it's not the typical gray. So we'll keep going because the subtitle didn't grab that for you guys.
you said 1954 was really when this kicked off. Were the NHIs involved from the beginning, or did they come in years later or before the program?
I think that it's possible that our government had some previous contacts, but I do believe that in 1954 that the program was stood up officially.
Which is interesting too, because I think that's right around the Kingman case, which I don't know a lot about Kingman. You know, you don't hear a lot about the Kingman, Arizona, that case. I don't know why it's there. I'm sure I've heard of it in passing, but I know that there's another thing that I want to get to later on in the show. Chris Mellon did like this text message drop that a lot of people kind of lost their minds over, and it has a relation to do with Kingman. But I think that's right after. I think Kingman was 53, and this is 54 that he's talking about, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing. But the other thing that I'll talk to you guys about here, or at least like remind you while you're listening, is pay attention to like how he talks. Jason does. Listen to really how he stumbles on his words here or there, just the tone of his voice. To me, it just sounds like somebody kind of just working their way through a story that doesn't sound extremely confident. Now, look, that could be because, dude, there was a lot of people in that space, guys. I mean, there was well over 1,000 people that were in the Twitter space while this went on, and this guy was in the hot seat for hours. So I don't want to take too many points for it, because if it was me, I'd be nervous too, probably. But yeah, just keep a good eye on where he stumbles. I think you can kind of get maybe a little bit better picture on whether or not you think he's telling the truth.
And has been, striving forward ever since. So as for the person I met in the desert, that was 3 feet away from me, he to me, his skin looked the same as what an albino would have, very, very pale white. And he was a little bit shorter than me. I stand about 6 foot. He was a few inches shorter, maybe 5'6", 5'7". So I had a very good look at him. I think people have asked me about it before, and I would say he probably looks more like a tall white than he does anybody else. But
now keep this in mind, because as this clip continues to go on, Kimball, I believe, UFO Intros on Twitter and X, or what have you with that. He starts to ask him, why do you say, tall white? Where are you getting these references? This is an interesting clip because it kind of digs into, where do you think this guy is getting this story? Is he telling this all from his own recollection, or has he been involved in UFOs in the sense of following the topic and following, other channels or the lore, the history? And is he kind of piecing together this situation like a collage of not only things he thinks that will make sense for it, but just things he's learned over the past, and picking up a lot of like the lingo and things that you hear a lot in ufology. It's pretty interesting.
The ears are something that really threw me off, but you'll hear more about that when James Fox's film comes out later this year. And by the way,
which is another big contention for this whistleblower, quote unquote, Jason Sands here, is that there is a James Fox documentary coming out, and I believe it's September, that he's supposed to be featured in, but we'll get to that later.
He is trying he's working his butt off right now trying to get that film finished up.
Yeah, James is awesome. Jason, real quick, just on the points you just made.
Can I turn up the audio? You guys can't hear it. I can't get it any further, guys. Sorry about that.
So even someone who's into the topic like myself, when I hear people make delineations between like races, between the Nordics or the tall whites, that is like, wait, what? And I guess just given your background and like your experience in these departments, can you shed any light on maybe where your opinions or your knowledge, I guess, comes from?
Well, just during the interview process, there was a lot of pointed questions about my encounter in the desert with this individual. And, I'm never going to claim to be an expert and have like a catalog of exactly what all the different races are that have made contact with the human race are. All I can tell you is what I've seen and experienced myself. Fair enough.
And guys, I do have to pause this every once in a while here. Yeah, fair enough. At least he's going to admit that, he doesn't know it all. I mean, that's reasonable, right? I don't want to hear this guy saying, well, I know everything about everything, because who would know everything about everything with this topic? Even if you were a whistleblower and you knew about some of these programs, you're not going to have all the answers, right? So, that's at least, I'll give him props on that.
So this individual had that albino looking skin, had a blue under that skin. It was a bluish kind of a tinge. He had earlobes, but they were conformed to his skull, so they weren't sticking out at all like ours do. And his eyes were twice the size of ours. And the corners of his eyes were probably about where our temples are.
So not like a really crazy different description from a lot of things that we've heard. It's typical, right? It's a lot like this image that you showed earlier. There's not anything, in my opinion, that's unique to it. We don't have like a new race or anything like that, which is also pretty interesting. We'll continue.
That's how big they were. And the irises were similarly large and very dark, to the point where you couldn't tell the difference between pupil or iris.
Right, but why do you describe that as a tall white as opposed to a Nordic, or like your knowledge on those delineations or the grays or the ebens or whatever? Where does that come from?
Well, there's two sources, and that is one is my own, listening to telecommunications within the program. The tall whites were mentioned and the grays. At that point, though, I had not seen what a tall white or a gray looked like. So I assumed that this person that I had met was white. So I assumed he was a tall white, not knowing exactly what they look like and not having.
But dude, can somebody in the chat tell me though? I can't remember, how tall are the tall whites supposed to be though? Because I mean, he's saying that he's 6 foot. Jason's 6 foot. This guy was what, 5'6"? 5'6" is not that's not tall, dude. I am not tall, and I'm around that height. 5'6", 5'7". I'm short, guys. So that's not very tall. Does anybody remember? Hey, Ergo Eye, good to see you. Thanks for coming, buddy. Let me see. Oh, I thought I'd seen somebody else in the chat too. Yeah, I 5'6", that seems strange that he would go with tall when it comes to that. I did like how he said that he got it over telecommunications. Jeff's a 6 to 8 feet. So yeah, I don't know. It's a little weird. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I'd call him a tall white, but
been around them all my life. I just didn't know. So I called him a tall white. But then during the interviewing process, somebody else said he could have been a hybrid. And I don't know why they said that, but that's something they postulated.
I've heard that as well. It sounds like you're describing a hybrid from what I've heard.
Oh, that's the clip. Yeah, so I don't know. He kind of bounces around a little bit. I don't know. I'm not hella convinced off of that. And let me go to, yeah, like I said, there's not going to be a whole lot of rhyme or reason when it comes to a lot of this, guys, from me showing you these clips. I just grabbed a few of them. This was, I thought, one interesting one. So he comments on Bob Lazar, and I don't know if many people really talked about this at this point. He says, agreed, Jeff, saw Charles when he came to Australia. Oh, okay, you guys are talking about that. But, when you hear about Bob Lazar, I think this was a good question. Everybody, like a lot of people still wonder about Bob and, what truth there is to kind of pull from his story. I mean, you guys know what I think, man. I think if his story is legit, he would just go to Congress and drop the 115 and end it. He probably wouldn't be going and making more documentaries and things like that. At the very least, it shows his true interest in kind of paying the public back for essentially, in his opinion, keeping him alive. Remember, that's why he came out, he said. So I'll go ahead and get his little opinion. I think it's like 40 seconds on what he thinks about Bob Lazar, huh?
Wow. Thank you so much. Quick follow-up, and then I'll pass it back. You mentioned coming in the 90s after Lazar. From your experience, would you say that, your experience in the program aligns with what Lazar had to say?
Yes. Again, I've been asked many times what I think about Lazar. I've always said, yeah, he sounds like he legitimately knows the process. He's been through the same things I have, getting access to the places he's been. He's described a lot of the same things. I was not a scientist like him or assigned to, try to figure out what a piece of one craft or exotic material was doing, but he did. And for the most part, yeah, I'd say that, yeah, he's pretty legit in my book. Lazar is.
So he's on board. I'll be honest, man. I kind of figured he was going to shoot Lazar down. When I heard that clip, and sorry for the audio for it, guys. Like I said, it's weird. What can I do? Yeah, I kind of thought he was going to shoot Lazar down, dude. I was kind of surprised by that. Let's run another one of these clips and see where we go. These clips are the ones that are taken from the bad audio for sure, the kind of scratch track one like I was talking about. But I just have them labeled with numbers, so we'll play it and I'll comment as we go through, but they're interesting.
One more. Are there any specific details of the NHI craft in terms of propulsion, origin, where and when they were recovered, that any of the contacts within the programs have divulged to you?
Well,
that you can share?
Well, I don't want to give away any classified information, but
sure.
I would tell you, and I've been asked this before.
So he does kind of the same thing as David Grush. And a lot of other people that are going through like this Dopser process and these guys that are kind of going through this whistleblower process, which is kind of funny because, Danny Sheehan mentions this in an episode on Vetted this week, how this is how you know that these guys are not whistleblowers because they're not just kind of just putting themselves out there, breaking NDAs, going through everything, that this is actually a way of like putting the information out. But put the information out like a legal process, which when you do it that way and everything is cleared, it's like co-signed. So it's not really like a whistleblower. And I thought that was a really good way to put it, to be very honest with you. So the whistleblower idea is really, really in quotes here.
Or that the pace of retrievals has been about 1 or 2 craft every 3 to 5 years, ever since the 1950s.
Okay.
1 or 2 craft every 3 to 5 years since the 50s. Dude, that's a lot of crashes. That's a lot. Yeah, I should have ran the numbers on that. But yeah, that's a lot. You guys think that's true? Every 3 to 5 years, 1 or 2 crashes? Why would they be crashing that much? I mean, I could understand, and like, look, I'm one of the people that's not, people always ask, why do they crash? Like, I think that there's actually a high likelihood that they could come here and crash depending on how their crafts interact or propulsion systems interact with our environment. I mean, if it's different somewhere else in the universe, you could have those issues. But that many issues? That's really weird. I can't believe you're saying that there's that many of them.
Wow, that's crazy. And a little bit further to that, are there confirmations that the propulsion methods of these craft are indeed anti-gravitationally based?
There are a variety of different types. As you can imagine, if there are other civilizations out there, just like we can have a hydrogen-powered car or gas-powered or electric, they likely have other forms of propulsion. Most of the ones I know of or had heard of are electromagnetic in nature, or some form of it in one way, shape, or another.
Let me replay that part for you guys. See, this is kind of what I was mentioning earlier, that this answer from him, in my opinion, should be much more precise. He should be much more confident in this right here. Look at how he kind of stumbles on this answer.
I know of, they likely have other forms of propulsion. Most of the ones I know of or had heard of are electromagnetic in nature, or
Electro, I don't know. It's something electric, man. It's got a battery or something.
Some form of it in one way, shape, or another.
He doesn't sound confident right there in that right there. I don't know. That's a weird one. That's one of those moments where I go, I don't know, dude. I don't know. Let's go with this one. These are just some highlights. We'll throw some highlights. This is 2 minutes long, so this one might be a little bit long. I might have to stop a little bit more.
So I heard you say earlier that about why you're coming out now and stuff. Like, you mentioned that the stars are kind of all aligning to do this sort of a thing right now. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Oh yeah, that's just where I've seen Congress wanting to get involved. That the DNI.
So yeah, I mean, obviously this guy is asking him. I know the audio's bad, so sometimes I'm gonna jump in and try to tell you guys the question in case you're not hearing it. The guy's kind of saying, why are you coming out now? And Jason Sands is saying, look, the stars are going to align here, or they are aligning. Congress isn't really getting interested, which I agree with him. Congress is interested. Last week, it felt like they took a little bit of a hit. But yeah. So he's kind of going to break down why now.
I and the task force and Arrow all have been doing, their due diligence to try to get some answers. That's what I mean by the alignment of all these different things coming together. I've never seen so many things aligning all on trying to get to the answers we want from this.
I agree with him, though. I definitely agree with him. We've never seen this much all together. I mean, I guess really if you look at the last 7 years, this whole process since the New York Times article, yeah, we've never seen this much interest in the topic, right? Never seen so much mainstream push. We've never seen Congress get so involved. We haven't seen these whistleblowers kind of come out. We haven't seen people give these come out and testify, and the buildup and TTSA. There's been so much noise since 2017, man. It definitely makes sense. I agree with him on that.
So we've heard from Arrow now, and apparently Sean Kirkpatrick and his analysts are looking at the data, and they think one way about it. But I'm also hearing that there's some blowback from that report as well. And honestly, I don't blame other people from kind of bagging on the fact that it was kind of sloppily written and maybe a little too cavalier in its.
Hey, ask Christopher Mellon if it was sloppy. Remember, guys, we went over that. he was underlining everything. Project Bear, the end date for Blue Book. Yeah, Mellon was pissed off about it, no doubt about it.
Assumptions that it made, and it certainly flies in the face of at least my going to Arrow and what I said to Sean Kirkpatrick myself. So I think we're in a place now to where we either go forward with this or we don't. And I really would like to see the celestial bodies continue to align and continue through, because I don't think we're going to have another generation for quite a while where this is an opportunity for all of us to, take the what we have now for synergy and just push this through and find.
Yeah, I agree with him on this, man. We were talking about this yesterday, or was it? No, Friday. Friday, we're talking about this in Alien Addict, where I mentioned, this is, I think, why a lot of people are starting to get so antsy about what's going on. And you see a lot of people kind of fading in and out of the topic, and there's so much frustration, is because a lot of people know, like, if this last 7 years, if the whole push, whatever you think about it, that's not what I'm saying here. I'm not giving a take on that, but I'm just saying that if Congress doesn't figure it out, and the whistleblowers don't bring us any hard evidence that actually gets everyone on board, something we can really plant our flag in. And if Arrow and the government, the Department of Defense, wants to continue to do a blue book situation, where do you go? Where do you go at that point? Well, you go back to 2016, to be honest. And that's just kind of where you're at. And we probably wouldn't get another push like this for forever or for a really long time. And a big reason why I say that is because, look, I mean, Arrow is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. And if Arrow is BSing and they're covering stuff up and they're making these new rules for pilots and they're causing all this kind of mayhem with the topic, then I just don't see where, if Congress buys into that and stops looking, what's going to cause them to kind of come forward besides like an Edward Snowden or the phenomena. A lot of people will say, well, the phenomena can still come forward. Yeah, they can, but they've been able to do that for how long a time, and they still don't have it. And it's not anywhere. It's like a time frame that is in maybe my lifetime or your lifetime, right? When I look at potential disclosure and where I think the best avenues are, I'm looking at that in the sense of my timeline, not whenever. So that's why I just don't really look at the ET NHI situation as really an option, because I just don't see what would make them come out anytime sooner. So I'll finish up this clip, but yeah.
We get to a place where everybody's either placated and, hey, we really are alone, or, hey, yeah, there's NHI. I know that we have there are NHI, but that's for our society to come to grips with that. I mean,
yeah. So interesting. It's interesting to get his take on where he thinks everything could go at the same time. Understand why he's coming out. He wants to get the word out. He thinks people need to know. Okay, cool. Now we'll jump to a couple of the pushbacks here on Jason Sands, which are interesting nevertheless, for sure. Green Street went into that space. A lot of people did, and they were asking him questions. And Green Street's pretty pointed in his questions. I don't agree with everything that he says, but I think he's got some good points here to make. On April 20th, Green Street asks Jason Sands, "You were part of the UAP task force?" And Sands says, "Yes." Green Street says, "When were you part of the UAP task force?" Sands says, "From 2021 until Arrow was stood up." Green Street says, "So you served with Brennan McKernan?" Sands says, "Yes." Now, the next day, April 21st, Sands kind of changes the story here a little bit. And he says, "I should have been very clear that I was not employed by the UAP task force." This was one of the first, do you want to call it a debunk? I don't know if it's a debunk, more of just someone pointing out kind of like an inconsistency in the story. But this is the first one that I think that kind of caught fire the most. And, I did. As I noticed this as I'm sitting here, on the far right here, guys, if you look, I didn't notice he even commented on this. Jason Sands says, "That was my bad. I should have made the distinction between being part of the UAPTF forum, vice the UAPTF employees. So great you caught that, so we can clear that up. Not a contradiction, but just you mincing words as you seem to do." He's pissed a little bit about it. "Glad your audience now must be halves the correct meaning." And then Green Sheet replies, in quotes, "That was my bad. And then you blame me. LOL classic, man." And there is some funniness to some of this guys going back and forth. But yeah, that was kind of the first one where people were like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. And then there was a little bit of pushback, obviously from Eric Davis. This was kind of a big moment for a lot of people on whether or not where they were leaning, if he was telling the truth or not. Eric Davis says, and I believe this is on Facebook or from Facebook initially, Sands turned out to be either a liar or a believer of his own BS. He was never vetted and his story keeps changing. People I collaborate with met him and realized that his claims don't hold water. Eric is swinging, huh? He's swinging. The only thing that they felt was certain from meeting Sands is that he likely did work at U.S. Air Force bases. Now, excuse me. There are definitely people that back up what he said as far as like where he was and like his record. I think this is his DD-214. Now, I'm not even going to act like I can read this thing and tell you what's going on with this. I have no idea. I've never looked at a DD-214 before. I know that it is one, though, because at the bottom it says DD Form 214, automated February 2000. But you guys probably won't be able to see this. I can't really zoom in anymore on it. But the average Chris on Twitter, he is former Air Force. And from if I'm recalling what he said correctly, he said that this makes sense. Like a lot of this makes sense on this DD-214. So his positions made sense, but the stories that are coming along with it, that's where things get to be different. So there is a little bit of credibility, I think, at the base, at least his involvement in the Air Force. So we'll have to just kind of see how that whole thing plays out. You know, kind of like Dana White says, we got to see how this whole thing plays out. But yeah, I guess there's a little bit of backing on that. And I was trying to pull up, trying to remember. I thought there was one other thing. Oh yeah. I don't know who this is, Brandon. I'm not sure. But I thought he had an interesting take on this because I think he pushes back a little bit on the DD-214, not like the legitimacy of it, but a little bit more of like, was it possible for Sands to be in these positions, to be in these areas where he could have had these experiences, if this makes sense to you? I want to play a little bit of his conversation here. I'm sure he won't mind. I'm sure he won't. Brandon, come on. I think you make some good points here, bro.
I'm usually not one to take victory laps. No, who am I kidding? I love to take victory laps. Hey, my Tesla's driving me right now, so don't judge me. Full self-driving.
Yeah, put your phone away when you're driving, Brandon, huh?
Just kind of watch, but it can do everything. It drives better than I do, to be honest.
Another reason why I'm playing this is like, this is someone that's in the community. Let's get their take, right? That's kind of cool. We're going to get Eric Davis's take. We're going to get Danny Sheehan's take. Let's get this guy's take.
So don't judge me. But yeah, I'm breaking the law. Breaking the law.
Breaking the law. Breaking the law.
Yeah. Jason Sands. Eric Davis just came out and said he's full of shit. I hope you guys are going to listen to Eric Davis, because I know Eric Davis is a UFO Twitter god, and deservedly so. So yeah, Jason Sands, like I was trying to tell you guys,
he is definitely a god on Twitter, no doubt about it.
This is full of shit. Those guys that were pimping his DD-214, saying that proved something, just showed me what they don't know about the military. All of us have DD-214s, and to be honest, Sands' DD-214 was subpar at best. What he did, 21.
Shots fired, Chris. Shots fired. Respond, average Chris. No, I'm just kidding.
And a half or 22 and a half years, and only made E7. In the military, we called that a shitbird.
We call that a shitbird.
But his awards and everything else that was on his DD-214 were completely unimpressive. And what he was saying in the space was for guys like me who are from the real world of the military can pick out those guys that are full of shit.
You hear about stuff like that all the time too, right? There's a guy on YouTube that's what does he do? He does the Navy SEALs. Like, he vets these guys who say they're Navy SEAls. Don Shipley, I think, is his name. And he works like Stolen Valor. And this guy goes like all over the country to these guys who say they're Navy SEAls. And he's like, you said you were a SEAL? Oh yeah. What class were you in? And he like just breaks it down. It's really funny. But he catches all these guys that are bullshitting. So it's very good. And that's there. And so I just wanted to show you guys a clip. This is someone in the community that I think obviously posts. So yeah, interesting to find out. Let me see. Now let's take a look at Danny Sheehan. Danny Sheehan was unvetted here. And this is Danny Sheehan's take, because Jason Sands, this is why this is important, boys. So Jason Sands supposedly came to Danny Sheehan at New Paradigm there and asked for representation And so now we're going to get Danny Sheehan's take on what he thinks about Sands and what happened with that. This one made me laugh when I was listening to this part.
Some stuff just kind of fell in the lap of the UFO community. So I kind of want to start with that, which is really Jason Sands, this whistleblower that's come out. What do you know about him?
Well, all I know is that he had reached out to us to ask us whether we would be willing to represent him legally. We did some background checking on him, et cetera, and we have said no. No.
Dude, Sheehan drops that no like so hard too. He's like, no. Yo, wait a second. It's kind of like this sound. What was that, McGregor?
No.
Dude, so yeah, that's Conor McGregor doesn't believe him either. But that's what it felt like to me. He just like dropped the bomb. It was flat out. There wasn't a kind of, hey, I don't know, maybe he's telling the truth. No.
We have about 18 lawyers that are working with us at the New Paradigm Institute. They're being trained in detail on how to represent potential whistleblowers at all levels. And we did our research on this, and we've said no.
There you go. They did their research and they said no. Man, I'll tell you what, if Sheehan tells you no, it don't look good. it don't look good if he does. Yeah, crazy interesting, huh? Let me see. And so a couple more things on him and then we'll move on because we're at 45 minutes, okay? There's this Twitter account here that opened up recently, joined in April, so this month, called UAP United, and a lot of people were wondering what was going on with this. Here he is. He's posted a picture of himself right there. A lot of people are thinking that Sands actually runs this account, and that there could be a little bit of funny business with some money going on. And let me jump over to the tweet from a good friend on here that we actually did an interview with on the channel, Manny, Area 503, the guy who did Who's Lou. And there was a question that was kind of posed about this, and I think this was Average Chris. I smell something funny. All of a sudden, Jason Sands is releasing statements with the letterhead of UAP United, which has a page that literally popped up this month. Actually looks like today. And Manny, the reason why I give Manny a lot of credit on this, on his opinion on this stuff, dude, is because he looks into stuff. He looks into it. Okay. He did a lot of digging on TTSA. He's done a lot of digging on the SEC situation with them. And I just trust him to not just kind of blurt something out without having some backing on it. So he says, I think he has a nonprofit, in quotes, set up to facilitate UFO whistleblowers. I think he's even soliciting donations for it as well. So it's all alleged, obviously. But, if he's starting to sniff something weird, not saying it has to be true, but I'm saying you should probably at least take a look at it, listen to what he's saying, and see what you can come up with and see what happens down the road. It's definitely some food for thought. Definitely food for thought. And then the last part that I'll pull up here for you guys about this is the last kind of critique. There was a lot of critiques. A lot of critiques for a lot of this stuff. Let me see here. Let me pull up this, and this was this was very controversial, and I don't even know if we've gotten to the bottom of really what this is yet, or what happened with this. But yeah, okay. So I don't know if you guys heard about this. This is pretty interesting. So Sands Jason law firm. This is an alleged. This is listen. I'm putting it out there. Allegedly, okay, allegedly. This was supposed to be a website that he had put together. And people were kind of looking at this and saying, this probably shows that he's very untrustworthy, to say the least, because these lawyers that are listed here on this website are said to be not real. This is all fake. And people went back and forth saying, did he make this website? Did somebody who doesn't like him make this website? What's the conspiracy theory with that? I don't know. There was a picture of him, and this is where I think the original picture came out. Where is the photo? Yeah, okay, right here. right here. So this was the initial photo that I had seen of him that Green Street tweeted. Green Street was the first person I think that actually tweeted this whole website out, maybe even found it, not sure, but it's where I seen the information about it first. And I'll tell you what, if this is a lawyer, like a lawyer website, this would not be your photo, right? Like, why would you have a photo of you in a bathroom mirror as your attorney? It would look more like the ones that you've seen over here, right? Something more official. Maybe you're at your desk, you know. I don't know. This is a weird one here. It's criminal law. Looks like he's handcuffing him in the bathroom, no? It's very weird. But it would be something like this, right? Stand in your office, suit on, hands, you know, crossed, kind of a thing. Very formal. Not that photo. So I don't know. I mean, your mileage is going to vary on what you think about that. I don't know. I haven't. Maybe somebody has figured this out at this point, and I've just missed it. My head hasn't been completely into this week because I kind of just initially felt that my initial thoughts were kind of the same. However, I waited to make a statement because if you know anything about this whole topic, right, you have to wait like a week and a half, and then you can get the full picture. It always comes out for what's going on, right? It always ends up coming out. So I don't want to speak too soon and just kind of throw this guy in the dirt if there's actually something that comes out that's very interesting with it. But I think that's going to probably do it for him. The Eglin Air Force Base, man, I could do another 20 minutes just on this. But Arrow essentially dropped out a report going over Eglin, the sighting that happened there. If you guys remember, this is the clip, and I'll play the clip for it. But when Matt Gaetz at the initial congressional get together here, the initial congressional hearing, he comes out and drops this story about going down to Eglin Air Force Base and him seeing an image of this UAP in a diamond formation. You know what? Why don't we just play this clip? He'll tell you, and we'll go over just a little bit of kind of what Arrow said about it.
One member of the flight crew who took the image. The image was of something that I am not able to attach to any human capability, either from the United States or from any of our advocates.
Oh wait, time out. So yeah, my final thought on Jason Sands is I don't believe his story. Personally, I don't. If he comes out later on down the road, sure, fine. But I don't believe his story personally. That's my take.
Adversaries, and I'm somewhat informed on the matter, having served on the Armed Services Committee for 7 years, having served on the committee that oversees DARPA and advanced technologies for several years. When we spoke with the flight crew, and when he showed us the photo that he'd taken, I asked why the video wasn't engaged, why we didn't have a FLIR system that worked. Here's what he said. They were out on a test mission that day over the Gulf of Mexico, and when you're on a test mission, you're supposed to have clear airspace, not supposed to be anything that shows up. And they saw a sequence of 4 craft in a clear diamond formation for which there is a radar sequence that I alone have observed in the United States Congress.
And I guess the only reason why he was able to even see it was because he was the only one that actually had a clearance out of everyone that went down there. I think Luna went and Burchett went too. And there was an argument over whether or not they had the clearance to see it, but he kind of said, hey, look, this is how this really goes. I have access. And so this is how he got access.
One of the pilots goes to check out that diamond formation and sees a large floating, what I can only describe as an orb. Again, like I said, not of any human capability that I'm aware of. And when he approached, he said that his radar went down. He said that his FLIR system malfunctioned and that he had to manually take this image from one of the lenses, and it was not automated in collection as you would typically see in a test mission.
Okay, so that's the kind of a quick little overview of what he's talking about here and what Arrow's talking about. This is up here, comparison of reported UAP, an infrared image of a reported object, and that's A here. B, electro-optical image of reported object. There that is. C, image of commercial LTA lighting system, photo credit, Arrow. So when you look at this, man, that looks... why wouldn't it let me zoom in on that? Damn it, dude. It's so irritating. I think when you look at the top image of what we're seeing here from it, and you look at this giant light here that's down here, they're pretty close. They're pretty close. I could give Arrow this one. If they're saying, hey, they think it's that, it's most likely that, which in the report and the breakdown, they don't tell you, hey, we know 100% what it is, but what they're offering is this is the example of this is why they feel this way. Yeah, I mean, it's possible that it's that. I could give it to them on that. Look, they're not, listen, Arrow, even if I think Arrow is untrustworthy, guys, that doesn't mean like everything they're going to put out is a cover up. I mean, even if they were untrustworthy, you wouldn't want to do that. The best lie is a half truth. So you'd want to put some things out that you could say, you know, oh, this is a better image of it right here. You want to put some things out that were like balloons and stuff like that, because you want to make it believable, right? So large orbs. So yeah, pretty interesting, man. I could buy that. The one part about this report that is irritating, though, if you remember what Matt Gaetz just said, he said that when the pilot came into contact with this diamond formation of these orbs, that the radar went down, the systems went down, and Arrow had a excuse for why that happened. Okay, now I want to criticize Arrow right here at the same time, because I'll give them the fact that it was a balloon. We can go there, but they got to get a little criticism too. Okay, so they said that the reason of why the system, the radar systems and all that stuff went down was because 2 other times that aircraft had a circuit breaker issue that ran those systems, that those circuit breakers essentially popped or they had some issue with it. And they had a technician's report prior to that talked about it. And so they went back, and when they were obviously investigating what happened, this is what they found, that there was a faulty circuit breaker. Now, I asked this question because I really want to know, because I want more hard evidence from Arrow. Like, you can show me the pictures of the lights and stuff like that, and I can go with you on some of that. But when you have like a technician's report, you have something that's hard paperwork evidence that you could put out. Put it out. Is it classified? Is it classified? Is it something that we actually can't get a hold of because of that? But they don't even say that. They just say, hey, there's this report, and yeah, this is the reason. Listen, we have to have more than trust me, bro. That's what people are going to want. You can end a lot of the argument. Like, if I was Arrow, and I had a way to put that stuff out unclassified, I would do that to kind of just drive this stuff home, and they're still not doing it. So if you want to raise the bar of evidence, we're all talking about that. You know, people say, why my evidence bar is way high. Well, then you got to critique them on this stuff. You have to also look at them and say, you got to bring the bar up, Arrow. Meet that bar at the very least. Show us these reports. Give us something to sink our teeth into, to walk away with, other than just trust me, bro. So that's my criticism. I'll digress. Otherwise, I'm going to start repeating myself. Oh, yeah. Here's the Jason. This was proof that Jason Sands was in the documentary, by the way. Oh, what happened? Okay, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. What do we want to do in 5 minutes here? Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I thought this meme was kind of funny. So, cursory investigation later confirmed by congressional DOD sources determined this individual is not credible well over a year ago. The fact he would have been included in any documentary in the first place is beyond laughable. So this meme has a picture of, I guess, what's supposed to be James Fox's timeline that's got Sands right here. He's clicking delete. A lot of people ask that. I guess, look, I do want to... Yeah, you know what? I'll jump back to this, because as I started going over the Eglin stuff, I'm like, shit, man, I left out James Fox's statement about Sands. So we have to double back a little bit. I apologize, guys. Usually I have notes for this stuff, and I have a layout for it, and I don't have that right now. So let's end on this. Let's end on James Fox's take here. Okay. James Fox says, Go back. I can't read it. They're going to force me to read it this way. Okay, never mind. James Fox here. Those who know me or are familiar with my work know I fiercely go the extra mile to weed out unsupportable claims. I have spent the last year conducting numerous interviews, researching claims, and doing my best to verify within my means people's credentials and the veracity of their statements. Okay, I hear you. I don't really believe you, but I hear you. As part of this mix, I met with Mr. Jason Sands a little over a year ago. And wait a second. Why is he spelling it with a Y? Is that just a typo? Because Jason Sands has no Y here. That's interesting, no? Jay. Huh. I didn't notice that the first time through. It could just be a typo. I met with Mr. Jason Sands over a little over a year ago, concerning whom there has arisen fierce debates on social media concerning his claims of official involvement in the UAP area and specific experiences associated with such. Fierce debates. Yeah, that's to put it lightly, James. That's to put it lightly. As part of my due diligence, I can state that he is who he says he is. Remember Richard Dolan said that about the guy they interviewed? We know who he says he is, who he says he is. Has served in the military and is willing to testify under oath and even take a polygraph test regarding his claims. Well, Jason, or not Jason, but James, listen. You didn't do any of that stuff before you're putting him in this documentary? I mean, don't you want to be 100% behind this guy before we put him in something that we're going to probably charge 20 or 40 bucks for? God, dude. This is not a good response, in my opinion, from him. Hey, don't worry about it. It's going to come out and we're going to test him later. Nonetheless, as with other whistleblowers who go public, this doesn't mean that what he has stated shouldn't be questioned regarding apparent inconsistencies and difficult to resolve claims. Evaluation of such continues to be a work in progress. Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. I would have, if I was going to do a documentary about a whistleblower, I would have wanted to know what was up right away, dude. But that's me. Maybe he's just more okay with taking more of the risk. I'll say this. Look, I know UFO Shane has mentioned this a bunch of times. UFO Shane's on X. He's kind of a popular guy there. Skyfire News Association, things like that. He always says that James Fox thinks that he'll probably, pass away without ever knowing the truth, without ever getting the real answers to everything. That all this time he spent, he's still not going to know. Well, that kind of creates a level of desperation, wouldn't it? It creates a level of desperation in someone to where maybe because of that desperation, it could have clouded James Fox's judgment a little too much, or just enough to kind of put Jason Sands in here and put this together and hope that this documentary comes out and really blows things, helps blow the doors down. I don't know. Not saying that's the case, but we got to be careful. I've a lot of people have asked me, what's my opinion on a lot of the last 7 years with the TTSA push and OSAP and what's really going on with a lot of these guys. And I think that, a lot of them probably are into UFOs. I mean, they're UFO guys, but there is a lot of desperation. These guys are getting older. And I think, when you look at the mortality of everyone around this topic and the common age for a lot of people that are, more well-known and whistleblowers and the people that are coming around, obviously Grush is younger, so he's a little bit more of a outlier when it comes to that. But look at Robert Bigelow. I mean, Chris Mellon's not a spring chicken. He's not. Eric Davis, Hal Putoff. I mean, these guys are getting, up there. Stephen Greer. All these guys are. So I always wonder how much that plays into this entire process and where that could lead to and what that could cause. And does it cause things like this where people just are so anxious to get there, whether it be money or the truth, and they slip up. They slip up, man. Happens. Doesn't make James Fox a terrible guy. Makes him human, that's for sure. But everybody makes mistakes, man. And I think my opinion, he made a mistake on this one. But I think he knows that. I think he's paying for it right now. I think he's a little upset. But yeah, Congress is out for the week, guys. I would do the Sora video, but honestly, I don't want to deal with another copyright issue. And so a little announcement here, okay? Before we go, housekeeping stuff before we go. So this is the last episode of Terrestrial Material until June 16th. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, dude, it's about to be May. That's like 5 or 6 weeks. Yeah, it is. When I started the channel, I think almost 9 months ago at this point, I've had a lot of things in the back burner. If you guys have ever done any kind of content creation or anything like that before, when you get your channel off the ground, when you're trying to, right, you do a lot, right? You do extra podcasts, you go on Twitter, you go on X Spaces, you get your opinions out there, you go on open panels, anywhere you can go to kind of talk and get involved. So it's been more than just one episode a week, right? And then I'm doing all these graphics and everything that you see, I've made. So everything, the intros, outros, which that comes to another thing. I do want to upgrade like the thumbnail style. That really needs an upgrade to something that's a little bit more general public understanding, where I think right now the thumbnail is good for you guys and good for maybe people in the UFO community, but I want that to stretch out a little bit more. So I got to change that theme. So keep a lookout for that. And then maybe like do a little bit better of an intro. I'll maybe cut some clips together. I just haven't had time to do that. I work full time. I'm married. I have a big project that's been kind of looming in the works. And to be quite honest with you, I meant to do this in February. I meant to take this 5 or 6 week break then, doctor's appointments, dentist. I mean, dude, you guys name it. Like there's stuff that gets kind of put on the back burner when you're starting something like this, man. If you're taking it serious, that is. And, obviously you go through your entire week, you bookmark, you build these episodes. It's a lot of work. Okay, I'll digress. But it's a lot of work. And so a lot of stuff in my real life has kind of built up. And so I need to take a break, focus on that, get some things back in order. And then at beginning of June, Destiny 2, the expansion, The Final Shape, which is a game that I've played for 10 years, we're looking at the last expansion. And that's going to be like 2 weeks of gameplay that I don't want to miss. It's the last one, guys. I do want to kind of immerse myself in that, have fun, kind of let that thing go down, and just really not have to focus so much on this. I want to be able to be in that experience. So, look, I'm going to be a little bit selfish on the first 2 weeks of June. But in May, it's just, look, I have to get this stuff together. But do not fret. We're coming back. We're coming back. And it's not 6 months or something. It's a few weeks. You guys won't even probably notice. There's so much content out there. But that means even Alien Addict, I'm gonna kind of go cold turkey, not much Twitter, not much anything, refocus, get the real life things I need to get out of the way so I can come back and have some more fun with you guys, man. And we can take a look at more of this process and everything that's going on. So like, share, subscribe, keep a lookout. If you want to know right when that time comes back, I mean, I'm saying June 16th. I don't see why I can't make that date, but June 16th is the one I'm shooting for, because that's the weekend right after a good 2 weeks with Destiny. And that should be all right. It's at Terrestrial Material underneath me right now. And you know what we'll do? We're doing this here. Why aren't we doing this on the big screen? Why don't we get on the Jumbotron here for the announcements? So yeah. And then, every time, guys, you know me, every time I say last thing, it's never the last thing, dude. There's always like 4 other things. There is a big show I'm putting in the chat, okay? There's the link to the Alien Addict show at 4 o'clock Eastern today. A lot of people, man. A lot of people on that panel. Keemstar, Skyfire News. It should be interesting, to say the least. And we'll go over some other things that happened this week and kind of get everybody's opinions on that. But show up for that. Come on over. We're gonna have fun for sure. I mean, you guys, I'm sure will have a lot of fun at this one. But yeah. So I want to say thanks to everybody here in the chat, man. Jeff Garvey, Intergalactic Angler, John Stokes, Nick, dude, thank Cosmic Twilight. Awesome. Guys, check out Cosmic Twilight too. Go to his YouTube, man. He's got really cool stuff over there. I want to hear about more of you guys going over there and seeing his stuff. Don't underrate Nick, man. He's awesome. He's on Alien Addict all the time with us on Fridays. John Stokes, Gebs, Tim G Star. You guys are awesome. So look, I feel bad taking the time a little bit, but look, I have to. But thank you all for the support, and I hope to see you guys, when I get back and kind of get flowing on everything again, and we can see what's really going on, because we got Elizondo's book coming out, man. We still got stuff that's going on. So it ain't goodbye. Trust me. All right. It's see you later. And that's what I'll say to you guys. I'll see you later, Terrestrials. Thanks for the support. See you in a few weeks. Oh, wait a second. Cut the music. Cut the music. Rotary Motion. I didn't forget about you, bro. Thanks for the support, Rotary. All right. I'll give you a little shout out. Huh? How about that? See you guys when I get back.